Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Words and Wisdom, our Wisdom and Words, our Words with Wisdom, Wisdomy. We're wisdomizing things.
Hey.
Hey. And we have got our author interview tonight, and we are super excited about it, aren't we, Todd?
Totally.
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 This has been a friend of ours for a long time now. A number of our books, our collaboration projects. Rosanne Groover Norris. Not only that, but we also published her book called beLEEve. And just absolutely phenomenal person with a huge, wonderful, beautiful, amazing heart. Somebody who has always been so encouraging and just lovely. And we've just loved watching her grow into her authorship too. It's been just absolutely wild, right? Because I don't think she was in any books maybe before us, and then she started branching out, going into other collaboration books and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's been just a pleasure and a joy to have her in our lives.
I couldn't agree more. She is kind of one of the, if I can say, like one of the very active community members, authors in our community. Kind of one of the backbone kind of go-to people. You know, she's always cheerleading and supporting us, and she's available, and she's been in a lot of books, and I totally agree. She's definitely embraced her authorship, and just is a really great example of somebody who has done so much in the little time that we've known her, as well as she's someone who has come through so much. And we're going to be talking more about that tonight.
Yes, that's right. Let me go ahead and introduce her. This was her from her Paws and Purpose article here. This is her bio. Rosanne Norris embarked on a spiritual path in 2018 after her 30-year-old son Lee passed unexpectedly. She's an affiliate leader and caring listener for Helping Parents Heal, an organization to help parents after the loss of a child. Rosanne is an author of beLEEve, B-E-L-L, B-L-B, I know how to spell, B-E-L-E-E-V-E, A Journey of Loss, Healing, and Hope in 2020, and a contributor of 3 anthologies, Ordinary Oneness, The Simplicity of Everyday Love, Grace and Hope, 2021, Gathering at the Doorway, an Anthology of Signs, Visits, and Messages from the Afterlife, 2022. She just went for it. Ignite Your Inner Fire, 2023. Rosanne was also featured in the award-winning documentary Rinaldi, the story of a Brazilian transcommunication researcher, Sonia Rinaldi. For over 30 years, has brought through images and voices from deceased loved ones. Additionally, Rosanne is a Reiki master and a certified grief educator trained in the world-renowned David Kessler. And she can be reached at rmnorris 457 at gmail.com. So, wow. She's written in a book every year. That's amazing.
Totally.
And then wrote her own full-on, for real, amazing book. So, and I will share that with you guys in a little while. So without further ado, let's bring Rosanne on.
Hi. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh. So excited. And now I think it's 6 anthologies. I think I made a boo on that. Well, I just finished the 6th. So I've written.
For Finding Your Path?
Yes. So I think that was the 3rd one this year alone.
I know.
But it's fun.
Wow.
It's so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
You guys are great.
You know what you're doing is what I...
Does anybody really know what they're doing? But we try. Yeah. So.
You're practiced. And I think that's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you guys are out there seeing us, please say hi to us in the comments. Connect, say hi, and say hi to me. I like people when they say hi to me. I'll go ahead and put our little banner up here so everybody can see us. And okay, so books, writing, authorship. I don't know if we want to just head right on into the questions, Todd,
Sure.
and just get this party started. Rosanne is across the country from us right now, so it's a little bit late, but yet she still looks fresh and ready to go.
Oh, thank you for that. I don't know, but it's close to my bedtime.
So, beLEEve, what is that book about?
Well, as you said, in 2019, my 30-year-old son, Lee, and his dog actually passed from an accidental carbon monoxide poisoning in their home. And I mean, it was something that I didn't think was survivable. The pain was beyond anything I ever could imagine. And I've always been a writer of sorts and a journaler at different times in my life. So I just grabbed a journal, and it was a way to just get that pain out and on the page, just so I could step away from it for a moment. So that's pretty much what I turned into the book. So just.
What kind of challenges came up for you as you were as you were journaling? Did you have anything kind of come up for you? Like, did you ever, okay, let me find the right question, because this is off book. Did you ever think in a million years as you were journaling that it was going to turn into a book?
No, not at first, but I did have, well, first of all, I had a medium tell me I was going to write a book, and he wanted it by his first anniversary. So this was a couple months before his first anniversary in 2019, and I said, no way. But she actually named it. She said beLEEve or Beyond beLEEve. She was naming it. But I put that away. I said, it's not going to happen. Then in 2019, I thought, later on, I thought, well, I started thinking about it, thought maybe I will write a book. But it wasn't until 2020, and when we locked down with COVID, that I actually sat down and started writing it. So yeah, he was poking me. And that's the whole time I kept hearing, every time I'd wake up, I'd hear book, or it was just so in my head all the time. I couldn't ignore it. So
yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't.
I'm pulling up. Yeah, I am too. I'm pulling up your book now on Amazon so I can show everybody. And Todd, please take it away. Continue.
Take it away, Todd.
Take it away, Todd.
Yeah, 2020 was a great time to write books.
Yeah.
I did a lot of writing, 2020, 2021. Yeah, it was fantastic. Well, yes and no. It was a good time to be productive at the laptop, at the computer. Yeah, put it that way. A lot of time, ample time for going inward.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that in your book, a lot of going inward, and lots to share about all those important experiences. And you've also done like some kind of group work, right? For people who have been in a similar situation, like parents who've lost kids, kind of thing.
Yes, it was a group helping parents heal that I joined a few months after Lee passed. This is not a traditional grief group. It's a group that it's a healing group, and we walk together on this healing path. And they are open to communication about communication with our kids, and to ideas of the afterlife. So it was a perfect fit, because I was reading every book I could about all of that and trying to figure out, where did he go? What's this about? Why are we here? I had all those questions that I'm sure every parent does when they have this kind of loss.
It's interesting. It's so interesting to have a situation where you are not necessarily in that realm at all, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is something that I'm I'm going to explore. I'm going to try to help myself heal, you know, throughout this whole process. But it wasn't necessarily like your go-to move. Like, you know, yeah.
Exactly. You just go about your everyday life and think everything, you know, you think you have a vision of what that's supposed to be like. And you just, you know, I mean, my life was great. This just knocked me, you know, off my feet. It's just, you don't think anything like this is going to happen in your life. But when it does, there you are. What do you know? What do you do?
So what message do you hope readers will take away from your book?
Well, there's been a couple, you know, some interesting things. I mean, I think that for the parents that read it, that they can see that they're not crazy when they have these signs or experiences that maybe they've never had before. And that you think, you know, when you hear something in your head and you think, oh my God, I'm going crazy. I think, you know, to see that they can understand that it's a roller coaster of emotions, that one day you're not just going to flip a switch and say, okay, I'm over that, you know, I'm done with it. It's a lifelong process that you have to commit to healing. You know, it's hard work. But the other interesting thing that I found were people that approach me, because, you know, we don't do grief well in this country. And for people that had not experienced the loss of a child, I had a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you know, my friend has had a child pass. I didn't know how to help them. This book has helped me understand what they're going through. I think that was, I don't know, that touched me. It meant more than, I shouldn't say meant more than the parents, but it really, I thought, oh my gosh, if I've changed somebody to understand about grief, especially parents' grief, that's amazing. So,
especially if somebody hasn't lost someone in their life to that, you know, someone that's pretty major significant, for them to really understand it or get it or really be able to empathize with you. It's huge.
Exactly.
If I can interject.
Sure.
I want to capitalize on that as well and say that's huge. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is one of the reasons, or the mission behind like Edgewish Publishing, is to give people a voice, right? Because you never know how your message is going to affect other people just by telling your story. And this is a prime example of how telling a story helped probably a lot of people. We'll say one for illustrative purposes, helped a friend of yours or someone you know to navigate what somebody else, to empathize what somebody else may have been going through about their loss. Mm-hmm. So like you said, there's this country doesn't handle grief so well. and I'll say we don't go inward so well either, you know?
Sure.
So any tool that helps people make sense of the internal experience, whether it's for ourselves or for friends of ours, so we can better love and see them and empathize, that to me is a monumental gift that we're providing. Because if you think about it, that internal shifting that we allow ourselves to do can make a world of difference in terms of what that person may feel they can do next in their lives, for example, right? Like maybe they got over something like that they had trouble getting over, or maybe they got through something. Those emotional shifts can be huge, mm-hmm. Massive. And to be able to, I think it really does happen at a grassroots level. And I think that's why this all happened like it did for all of us, our business, and even with your friend there, because when people see that other people like them are having these experiences and sharing them, it becomes so much more accessible to other people. And, you know, it's not somebody on stage necessarily who has all these wonderful grief answers, but it's somebody I know who went through it and has provided some tools based on their experience. And I feel like that makes it so much more accessible for the lessons and to understand what somebody was going through. Over and above it being a valuable piece of writing and contribution, and just how you share so well in the book about all your experiences, being a great writer is definitely part of it. And the other part of it, I think, is how it spreads at this community level, as it were, to help everyone take steps forward together to make it okay to be feeling those things and to help understand what other people are going through.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So Kenny is saying hi to you. Hi to you.
Thank you, Kenny.
They said, "Can you come? Will you say hi to me?" Says hi to you. All right. So what's next? What's our next question, Todd?
Also, I want to add, it takes all kinds of voices too. I think that's what's so great about having people who join the collaboration books who've never written before, because you never know what that person, you don't have to be a professional writer or anything. You never know what just expressing and sharing your story, how it's going to help other people. You don't know. So I figure it's best to have a lot of different tendrils, people reaching out through their expressions to reach more people in their circles. And I don't know how many times I've heard people say that they've made such a difference just by sharing their story with people. So I'm super thankful for Rosanne and everybody who's ever decided to write and share their experiences, because it really helps people feel better. And that, I think, matters. So,
and I think it gives them courage to share their own story.
Courage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I think sharing our stories is so important.
Yeah.
Like you said, so.
Yeah. The
Kenny
courage
says,
to share.
Yeah, Kenny says, deep respect for your challenges and journey.
Aw, thank you.
Kenny.
Next question. Let's see. What message? How did your dog Fritz come into your life?
Oh, well, Fritz. So it was actually in early 2020, before we got locked down, that I was in meditation one morning, and in my awareness, popped in this little schnauzer, and just in and out. So it was so fast that I thought, what is that? I've never had one, seen one, didn't know anyone that owned a miniature schnauzer. But I came out after meditation, and I told my husband about this experience, and he said, that's funny. The day before, he had been researching dogs. Now, mind you, this was in January of 2020, and he said, I was researching dogs, thinking I might surprise you in June for your birthday with a dog. And he goes, I really was drawn to the miniature schnauzer. And I said, okay, well, that's interesting. I know we're all connected, so I thought I'll leave it at that. That's pretty cool. So then we happen to be going someplace, and I'm sitting in the car, and I start Googling, and I find a local breeder that has miniature schnauzers. And I'm looking at them thinking, oh, they're so cute, blah, blah, blah. And about the third time, I kept going in and out now and then during the day. And about the third time I looked, I realized that he was available on the day that Lee passed for his forever home, the same date. Obviously not the same year, but so we went to see the dog, and a couple days later brought him home. So I know he was a gift from Lee. But interestingly enough, a couple months before that I only put together after we got Fritz, I had an experience when I was falling asleep. I felt what felt like a dog walking around my bed. And my first thought was our family pet, Ruby, that we had to put down like 9 years earlier. And so I believe that believe in reincarnation, and I believe Ruby came back to help us heal through Fritz.
Yeah, I agree.
And he was named Fritz for my writing guide that helped me write during beLEEve. I was told I was going to have a German writing guide that had a long name that began with an F that I would shorten, and I did shorten it to Fritz, and then And so that's named Fritz in his honor. And I actually heard one night during the night, I woke up with like German words, like almost like yelling at me in my head. I could tell I was being like chastised and like get on the book or something. And I don't know German, but I was like, that is so wild.
You can tell tone. You got tone.
Yeah, exactly. There was a tone. There was a tone for sure. So
Nothing like a German to get you motivated. Speaking of which, how do you stay motivated throughout your writing process? Or did you already answer that question?
No, but I think, just thinking about who I'm writing for and how it might help them, how it helps me, so I think it's fairly easy because I do really have a goal in mind to help especially people going through grief and
Yeah.
I want to share your book also. So let me go ahead and pull that up before we get to the next question.
I do the same thing when I write. I think of who, like, some of my avatars are, like people who I'm writing to friends basically who I know would appreciate it or something like that,
Right.
And that helps. It helps. And a lot of people say to do that. Just think about who you're writing it for, and the words
Right.
kind of come to you a lot easier that way.
And here is the book, paperback and Kindle. She does have it on Kindle Unlimited. So if you do subscribe to that program, you could get her book through that. This is the book cover, and it took a minute, like for me from a publisher standpoint to go, she wants to title it what? I think I even sent you that email, and I was like, wait, how do I wait? How do I do this? Because I didn't know. I honestly, truly, I didn't know if KDP would accept it as a title. I didn't know if it would, say this is misspelled or whatever. But I think the format of it, with the Lee in all caps in the middle and that kind of thing, in the book cover design, obviously, which is just beautiful. Those things kind of all combined. They were like, oh, it's cool. It's cool.
Plus, I think you said something about that's not researchable. How can, people can't,
find it.
But then you have the journey of loss, healing, and hope. So that obviously is, but
I mean, it's still ranking really high in these different categories here too, right? We've let me show you where it is. Let's see on Kindle. Come on. We've got 2,382,000 books, right? And your book is 112 in existential psychology, 281 in group therapy, 620 in health and spirituality. And you've got 58 ratings, 5-star ratings. So like this book, it's kind of took on a mind of its own in some regard, like we found the way through, regardless of my lack of foresight, or concern. And, but I think it's always ever coming from a place of how can more people get this book in their hands? But now, as I've been doing this for a lot longer, I see the benefit of doing something like this. So I'm really speaking to the authors, the authors to be, that it's okay to get a bit unique with your title, because it is so special to your book, to your experience with your book and what it is that you're trying to convey. Because as soon as people know your book, they're like, oh, no, it's spelled leave, BELEEVE, and then it becomes like its own little hashtag.
Hey, good idea. I need a hashtag.
That's right. So guys, please go out there and grab her book as well. Do you mainly do it through KDP, or do you sell copies on your website or anything like that?
I don't have a website. I always have some copies on hand for, just with me, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So if you want her book, you can find it out on Amazon. And I will go ahead and pop that off. There we go. Okay. Let's keep talking. Okay. Let's see. What's our next question here?
It's about authorship. What has been the most rewarding part, Rosanne, of being an author?
Well, again, I have to say, when people have said that my words have helped them in some way, that's better than money. I don't care about the money part of it. It's the helping aspect. And then when somebody says, oh, your words touch my heart or help me, and that's really invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like it's a form of community service almost, by sharing our story or sharing anything that we know from our unique perspective.
Yeah. All my life, as I said, I wrote little plays for my younger siblings growing up, and I wrote some children's plays when my kids were growing up that were on stage at their schools, and I always thought, I always knew I was going to write. After I retired, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And never expected this form of writing, but it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to put, my words out there, and you guys just treat them with kid gloves, so kind, and
so nice. I didn't know you did the plays and stuff. That's so cool.
Yeah. I used to do the same thing. I would write murder mysteries, and I would kill everybody off, and I loved it. It's a great form of emotional release.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, okay, you're dead. like the cousins and stuff. And I'm like, no, just lay down. You're dead. And be quiet. And then I would go take my own nap. Kenny's got a question. What did you learn about yourself through writing this book?
That's a great question. I learned a lot. I learned that, you can survive the worst thing. That, I remember thinking that it wasn't survivable, like I said at first. And I learned that I was resilient, that I really could survive. I thought of Lee, and I thought I didn't want my son to look at me as a broken, sad mom. So I thought I will find a way to get on a healing path. So yeah, I'm now my favorite word, that I'm resilient. And
resilient. I love that.
I love that word too. So yeah.
Carolyn's visiting us.
Hey, Carolyn.
Hi.
Hi, Carolyn.
So let's see. I want to go back to the whole money thing, authorship and money, because I think that's a good one. Now I'll tell you, an indie author can absolutely hustle. They can get their books out there. They can go put it in bookstores. They can do any number of things. Have their one sheet and the back of their boot, and their car, their pickup, all of their books, and sign them and do events and everything. They can do that, and they can do it really well. James Redfield is an example of that. Wayne Dyer is an example of that. James Redfield had the Celestine Prophecy in the back of his car. Sold, I think, 30,000 copies on his own.
Wow.
And then he was picked up by a publisher, and they republished him, even though he was an indie book. He had already published his book. they just republished it. And so that's not generally common, but it is something that has happened because of the popularity of what was happening. Wayne Dyer, again, that's another one of those. He bought 2,500 copies of his book or something. What is it, 2,500? I think it was at that time. And it was like, I think it was erogenous zones. Erogenous zones? That's not right. Erroneous zones.
A little different.
Some may say. I got pink. Erroneous, not erogenous. This interview has taken an odd turn.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, I know that. So erroneous zones, and I think it was that one that he did this with. And he just had it in the back of his car, and he just drove around, and he would hand it off to people, or he would get a little pay for it or whatever. But he was just so committed to his message, and that was the main thing. He didn't care about the money. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He just wanted to get what he felt was the truth for him at that time out. And he evolved, right? There were some things that he believed then he doesn't believe now necessarily. Well, he's not here with us anymore. But the focus, not that it wasn't, he didn't still believe in those things. The focus was different, So he moved from this place of physicality to really deep spirituality. And so instead of going, well, I'm not going to think about that book anymore, it's like an add to kind of situation. So I say all that to say, I also was listening to Greg Braden. I wasn't listening. I was in the audience. So it wasn't like on a call. He was live in my face. And he was like, yeah, books. If you want to never make money off of something ever, write books. It's like, you're so positive, Greg. And, I paraphrase, but he was like, it's a lot of work, but there are things that go along with it. There's things that happen as a result of you writing books, of you, like Todd was saying, being a community service, being a touchstone, being a space. You don't know whose life you just saved. You don't, right?
Right.
And, it's so interesting, I think, that books will also turn up in very odd places. I had somebody email us not too long ago, and she said, I found your book by a dumpster. She said, but I feel really strongly that it was placed there, because I turned around and looked. I looked, and it wasn't there. I didn't see anything. It wasn't there. And then I turned around and looked again, and there it was. Like, really, like, woo, woo, spooky stuff. But she started reading it. She took it. She started reading it. She was like, this is amazing. And it was When Angels Speak. And so, like, how awesome, like, how cool are angels in general when they just randomly drop books on people?
Well, you've heard about them jumping off bookshelves. People say, I was in the bookstore and this, like, you think,
Asking It Is Given did that to me. Abraham Hicks. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yes,
but yeah. Asking It Is
Seriously,
Given
wow.
came off the shelf at me, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll learn how to manifest now. That was way in the beginning of my spiritual journey. So we don't know. We don't know. And I always say that. I think it's funny when Spirit's your marketing director, you have nothing to worry about. What's next, Todd?
Let's see. What do you think is the most important quality for an author to have?
Oh, I think they need to be, I think being authentic is the first thing, because, you write something that you're inauthentic, everybody's going to see through it, I feel. So truthfulness goes along with that too. But yeah, they need to speak your truth and be authentic.
Yeah. We have a thing called authentic, not perfect.
Oh, I like that.
Authentic, not perfect, because that's the biggest thing, I think, Roseanne, that a lot of authors face is they're like, but what if one word's out of place, or what if there's a typo, or what if I screw something up, or what if blah, 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 blah. And our brain just stops us. It'll paralyze us from taking a step forward because of this concern. Because here's what happens. Like, and I love this one. Nadia Kraus is one of our other authors. She said somebody came to her and said something like, "Oh, I found a typo in your book," or something. It wasn't even really a typo. It was just kind of like I think it was even just like a perception idea or something. She was like, "But I think you're wrong," or something. And she said, "Did it stop you from receiving the message that I was sharing? Did your ego stop you from receiving what I was telling you?" And I was like, that's the best answer to somebody trying to offer help in the form of unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to check my book for typos, okay? I didn't ask you to highlight every word that you feel is wrong in that sentence. What did it keep you from knowing? And Carolyn is great, who's listening here. Carolyn is great at that. She's like, she does it. We list ACIM and stuff like that. And she's like, whoops, my ego stopped me from hearing that thing. Let me go back and read it again. And so I think that's really cool. And just another kind of little thing here. Just stumbled upon giving cards tonight, like an hour ago. Isn't that funny that we would just talk about that? I haven't said ask and it is given by Abraham in 6 years.
Wow.
That's so cool. I bought them some time ago, but unloaded them from my book bag before walking here. Wow.
No coincidence. No coincidence.
No coincidence.
No.
That was a great answer, Roseanne. Thank you. Key. What else we got?
Well, next one is, what advice do you have for aspiring authors who want to publish their first solo book like you did?
I think just keep in mind that our stories matter. That, there's somebody out there that needs to hear your story. I like to maybe, practical advice, visualize the outcome that you want. But I remember all my life, like I said, I wanted to be a writer all my life, and fear did stop me. And that's, I think, the biggest thing, whether it's typos or, just like, what do I have to say that everybody has already said everything, but we all have something to contribute. And if you have, we all have our stories, and somebody's waiting to hear your story.
Yeah. And like we said earlier in the conversation, it doesn't matter. Whatever your experience is makes it worth sharing. Just having experience. You don't need expertise. You just need to be alive and to have had the experience of being alive. And however you experience it, however you have experienced life and then decided to write about, is valid. And right. It doesn't have to be intelligent or jaw-dropping or, have a lot of drama in it in order for someone else to benefit. It could be mundane. It could be boring. It could be ordinary, and still someone could resonate with it and say, oh, wow, look at that. That's a good story. And I see the value, and it's kind of ordinary. Maybe I could write something ordinary too. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. You could,
Yeah.
So I think it gives people permission to do it. I think that expression and sharing is the most important thing, not the content. The content is icing on the cake, I think.
Right.
So I totally agree. And
I think, to your point, like, keep it simple, keep it real. I remember, like, in my journals that I wrote, because I think I had 20-some journals that I wrote in the first 2 years. I mean, if I had transcribed every word into the book, I would have had a 1,200 12,000 page or whatever. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Math is not my strong suit. but yeah, I had to extract, excuse me, from those journals, the core message of each day that I was writing about.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we talked about. The format of the book was written in a journal format for that reason, so people could see that day to day. Today I'm on the floor in a puddle,
Yeah.
or my husband walked out the door to work and I went back to bed. I, tried to pretend I'm having a good day, and when really I'm not. So that day to day up and down swing of the whole grief process.
Yeah.
So
I remembered it. Yeah, I'm glad you're mentioning about the formatting. Yeah, we forgot to mention that. I remember how powerful that was because it was in that day to day. I think it was dated even, right?
Yeah.
It was dated day to day. So people really got to see that it comes and it goes in waves,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how emotions work. That's how emotional work works. That's how the mind heals. I mean, let me tell you, being on the spiritual healing path of taking radical responsibility for myself, it is not a one and done thing ever.
Right.
I mean, it comes back over multiple passes, multiple cycles, over years. And that's how the brain does its healing work. I mean, if it were, sometimes you can cover a lot of ground in a very short amount of time, but a lot of times, especially if it's older, it takes a lot of passes, right?
Yeah.
And but before I go too far down that rabbit hole, back to Rosanne, I love the thing that I think is so beneficial about that is that it illustrates with your vulnerability that it's not a one and done. It's not. Growth is not some mental intellectual thing that we do the growth, we check the box, and now we've grown, it's done. No.
Yeah.
No, that's bull crap. It's it's not like something else that's very, very physical and finite. That's the mind wants it to be that way. I've wanted it to be that way, but really, as you get more and more into it, you realize, and I think people can I say this, Kyra? I think women tend to be a lot better at this because there's a lot more allowing that happens. Whereas I've always tried to box it up more and compartmentalize it. And while that has served some purposes, it's also created setbacks.
Yeah.
So more and more of the work for me has been, like, as you all know, I'm a fan of the presence process, has been about just allowing, and breathing, and letting those things be felt. And when you show in your writing that today I'm doing great, today I'm doing shitty, today I'm doing better, today it's shitty, today, and just showing that vulnerability gives other people permission to see that it's not a linear path.
Right.
There is a progression. Absolutely. There is always a valid progression, no matter if it feels good or feels crappy. There's a valid progression in that, but it's hard to quantify. It's hard for people to quantify growth. And you demonstrate authenticity with your vulnerability, and you also demonstrate courage, and you just show people that it's a very transparent process. And I think people can really relate to that when they see that I am not in control of this process. I'm allowing it to happen, and I'm trusting that it's going to take me where I need to go. And look what happened. You got where you needed to go. It wasn't on your timeline. It wasn't according to what your mind thought needed to happen, but you got there. It's taken me a hell of a lot longer to figure that out, that you don't control that process. But the more that you kind of let go of those controls and go with it and use tools that are really, really effective, the more you can get out of the mind's judgment and evaluation mechanisms, allow those things to be felt. And then the transmutation happens so much more effortlessly. So thank you for demonstrating that with that vulnerability. And just anyone who reads your book is going to see that this isn't a process that I manage. And but it is a process that works because I'm just allowing myself to feel what's there to feel. So I want to give huge congratulations for illustrating that.
Thank you. And I think, allowing is certainly the point of it, just allowing those feelings to rise up and, going with it, the waves. And so.
Yeah. It's not a one and done thing,
No.
It's not. We want it to be sometimes, but it's not.
Oh, yes, for sure. And unfortunately, like you said, I think, in this society, going back to the men have not, I don't know, allowed is not the right word, but,
been conditioned.
Not, be a man, you got to be the strong one. And it's so unfair. Thank you, Caroline. Carolyn, thank you. Sweet.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, it's unfortunate because so many men suffer, right? Needlessly.
Yep.
Yeah. But we won't go there.
No.
Well, I think women in general, we tend to rely on other women. We just naturally share our emotions, share our feelings, connect over our grief in many, many ways, connect over our anger and frustration or whatever. And if it's done in a relatively healthy way, it's not commiserating or validating each other. Instead, it's like, hey, girl, it's okay. You're going to get through it. I was watching a comedian and he said, my wife, she puts a tweet out on whatever. And then, all of her girlfriends are like, oh my God, girl, you're so beautiful. Slay. I love you. You're so great. I can't believe you're doing that. You look great. He said, and if I put something out, I get shit from all my guy friends. And in a way, that's kind of a form of love and, terms of endearment for men too. But when it comes to like a lot of big things, I think a natural thing is that women tend to turn to each other for support and we release and we let go. Whereas men, I think, haven't always had that space or that ease to do that. So I think that's a good thing to mention for sure. Let's see, what does Kenny say? Now I'm present. Guess it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah, some of it is a matter of, for me, a lot of the unpacking was, I'll keep this super short. For me, a lot of the unpacking was getting access to a lot of repressed feelings that were a thing for me and my conditioning and my own sedation and control, I guess you could say. So that's taken time, and then allowing it and realizing that it just wasn't something that was controlled. It's something that you allow, and it takes a lot of prompting sometimes to condition yourself to allow and to feel, as opposed to anything the mind might be inclined to do to fool ourselves, like arguing for our limitations, or just any kind of drama that we create that causes us, the mind tricks us into thinking about, what about that over there? I'm feeling something, but that over there seems better. And then we get drawn away from the thing that we were feeling. And that's normal for all of us. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's just before we come to the realization of what transmutation looks like, it's just allowing those things to be felt and allowing them to be shown. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to say, in the old days when Kyra and I worked with lots of thousands of people in their emotional development. Hi, Kim. We sometimes clients would be afraid of doing the therapy wrong, or they would try to mentally manage it in some way, and we would tell
I'm gonna beat this therapy. I'm gonna
win. I'm gonna check the box, and I'm like, no. That's just your ego trying to capitalize on this even more. No, the therapy is in putting the sword and the shield down, and letting it unravel, letting it be felt, sharing it. And huge kudos to anyone. It sounds like you two are experts already at just sharing that with people and just allowing that to come out all the time. And, I strive to be more and more transparent in that way. And I think personally, I think a great definition of masculinity is embracing all of that and still being willing to show up and be supportive and lead in however it's necessary, and just allow, not repress or suppress, get aggro, and then show up. I think that's a little bit antiquated. I mean, there's value in that, but I think there are other things that can be done too. And I think when, man or woman, I think when we're not suppressing ourselves, when we build that internal neuroplasticity, is that the right word? With that allowing, which takes time to get that muscle going again, then our presence really opens up again, I think.
Yeah.
So all of this I'm extrapolating from your book. So amazing work,
Wow.
You had no idea.
I gotta reread it.
I loved it. No, I mean, I'm half joking, but I'm half serious about the fact that you showed that progression and how it's not a linear progression.
Yeah.
And when people don't give themselves permission, they think that they're afraid of failure, is what I'm trying to say. Like they're afraid of failing at therapy. And I'm like, we had to correct them. Like, no, you just talk about how you're feeling. We just do hypnosis on the stuff or whatever it is. We go through it. We don't go around it, and you showed in your book that you went through it. Yeah. And that is such authenticity, because you weren't trying to do any kind of bypass. And I have huge respect for that as a growth tool that you shared. So
thank you. Thank you.
Stop now.
That means a lot. That means a lot.
You're welcome.
Because you don't want to go through it.
Things? Yeah, I really felt drama shift this week. Shift happens. Right. I got to witness my son-in-law have a little moment. Really just allowing good things into our lives. That's what.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I may be on a limb here, but isn't Kim an LPC, if I'm not mistaken?
Kim, I don't know.
She probably knows about a lot of the stuff we're already talking about.
Yeah, let us know, Kim. Are you a LPC or a counselor? Let me go ahead and share Roseanne's book again, and then we'll also make sure that, yes, beLEEve.
LPCC, yes, she is.
Oh, there she is, yeah.
Licensed professional certified counselor. I think that's what it is, maybe. Yeah.
You can find Roseanne's book out on Amazon in Kindle as well as paperback. So please go out there. beLEEve is a journey of loss, healing, and hope. It is in journal format. So you get to see the progression of healing that Roseanne goes through. And basically in that process, the tools she kind of used herself. And she's also had to think about sensitivity, with your family and making sure, and we had talks about it. I mean, when you publish with As You Wish Publishing, you're kind of not just being like, okay, here it is. Now, we have done that before with people, but Roseanne, I remember having our conversation. I'm not going to go into detail, but it was like, is this okay? Like, should I be sharing this? I mean, this is pretty vulnerable, real stuff that some of my family doesn't even know about. And how do I navigate that? Yeah. And it's kind of one of those things to me where it's like, okay, well, let's just honor the message. And you can get permission. I mean, you guys, authors that are listening, you could get permission, you could change names, you could change your name. And so, keeping sensitive material in can be hard for people. And in some cases, it creates a libel situation. So, we always want to be very conscious and aware. But whomever you work with that helps you publish your book or get it out there, I hope that you would, if you work with somebody, that you feel comfortable asking any question that you have with them.
There he is.
There's Fritz. And the bark means yes.
That's true. That's true. It
bark
does.
On the truth, baby. Bark on the truth.
Let me grab him.
Hashtag bark the truth, baby.
Bark the truth, baby.
There he is.
Hey.
Oh, so sweet. In
There's
Paws
some-
and Purpose, I'll show it. It was
Fritz is on the Fritz.
We've got Fritz, the first one, the picture is fuzzy.
Hey, look at that.
Oh, yep, that's baby Fritz.
Baby Fritz, and that's what I put. I put baby Fritz.
Yeah. And that was so funny because when I saw him, he was fuzzy. The other puppies were clear, and but that was the one I kept, being drawn to.
That's the one that called you too. So I was like, that's fine. I'm sure you had tons of other baby pictures of Fritz, but I was like, no, I love this is the one that brought her. You brought them together, and I think that's so great.
Yep. So.
Oh, Carolyn says he's beautiful.
He's a good boy.
Let's see. So I do. Roseanne, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with new authors that are choosing to go the path of creating their book? Do you have any publishers that you might recommend?
Oh, let me think.
I mean, I don't know.
Definitely As You Wish Publishing. Come on. We know you're the best. Yeah. You would be in good hands, anybody that's listening to this.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah.
But seriously, do you have anything you want to share with newbies that we haven't already covered?
I can't think of anything. Just go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it. That's,
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Roseanne, you're going to stick around in the green room for us. Awesome.
Okay.
Bye, Roseanne. Bye, Fritz.
Bye.
Todd, how awesome is it? How awesome is it to have such amazing authors in our lives? Like
it
Roseanne?
Is such a blessing to have people because I mean, I it's always been so much fun, and I've seen their confidence grow over the years and do bigger things as they've been willing to do collaboration books. And some of them went on to do solo books. And then now what's cool is that there's like a generation of even newer authors who are coming in, like first time collaboration book authors, first time solo book authors. And the community that's been with us a while, like Roseanne, they're like the veterans who are cheerleading the new people who are coming into our business. Right. So it's really cool to see how leadership happens, self-leadership with people doing the collab books. And some of them do a solo book, and then they do multiple times, and then they just get more confidence. And then they're an example for other people. And it all started with them just being willing to put pen to paper, basically. It didn't take anything. It just happened on its own after they decided to act. Confidence follows action. So it's really wonderful.
Awesome. Very good. Now, that being said, we do have a collaboration book that is open right now, and you can go out to asyouwishpublishing.com/we-write and go ahead and sign up for Guided by Spirit. This book is anytime you have felt led to whether it was a big move, whether it was changing your job, changing your life, releasing a relationship, some of those big things, but it could be also some very nuanced things, or you could just be a straight up medium, where you are guided by spirit every day. Books are always falling off the shelves.
You can't walk through a library because there's books coming at you from over here and over there, Can
you imagine?
I last night I looked at Ghostbusters. I saw a thing for Ghostbusters, like the original one. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you should watch that. I haven't watched it in a long time. And it applies right here, walking through the basement library, there's index cards flying up everywhere. And some of these people, they have to publish. The books are following them.
Literally falling all over themselves to get to you.
I couldn't get to my car because these books were blocking the way.
You're so cute.
I tried to put my key in the keyhole in my car, and this book blocked me.
Oh
and
my
I tried to go around. And that way, I went to the other side. The stack of books was sitting there. Couldn't do anything.
I think your film major is showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think my kind of silly humor sometimes is like, start with the humor, like Ghostbusters, and then let's ante it up a little bit and really take it so where it's a little absurd and really silly,
Yeah, that's my boo. That's my boo.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We will have another guest with us next week. It's Beth, I believe.
I think it's Beth Eiglarsh, yeah.
Beth Eiglarsh. So very excited about that. You'll be seeing the invitation out there soon. Thank you, everybody who joined us. We had Carolyn, we had Kim, we had Janet on for a second. Kenny. Yeah, I mean, Jenny Conley was there. So thanks for watching live. We really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Did I say Kim? Kim, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. So I hope you have a wonderful night.
Bye.